In the remote expanse of the galaxy, on a lush and isolated planet called Viridia, an all-female society had thrived for centuries. The inhabitants, known as the aliens, were a species of humanoid creatures characterized by their vibrant skin colors, ranging from deep blues to bright greens, and a biological makeup that rendered the existence of males unnecessary for reproduction. Their world was one of harmony and scientific advancement, secluded from the cosmos's wars and chaos. On a clear Viridian night, under the glow of their twin moons, a young alien named Lyra, distinguished by her luminescent indigo skin and keen curiosity, ventured beyond the safety of her city's luminous walls. Armed with nothing but a portable scanner and her insatiable thirst for knowledge, she sought to study the nocturnal flora at the edge of the Galarian forest, a place rumored to harbor plants that whispered secrets when the moons were high. As Lyra delved deeper into the forest, her scanner picked up an anomaly that she had never seen before, a faint signal, erratic and out of place amidst the natural symphony of biological data that the forest usually offered. Intrigued, she followed the signal, her heart pounding with the thrill of potential discovery. The forest canopy thickened, and the air grew heavy with a sweet metallic scent that was entirely unfamiliar. Suddenly, a bright light pierced the night, crashing through the trees and illuminating the forest in a harsh artificial glow. Lyra, driven by a mix of fear and fascination, approached cautiously. Before her lay the wreckage of a spacecraft unlike any alien technology. Its design was sleek, aggressive, and clearly designed for deep space travel. Amidst the debris, she found the pilot, still strapped to his seat. The figure was distinctly alien to her, not just in its attire, which consisted of a strange, form-fitting suit covered in blinking lights and unknown symbols, but in its very form. It was a male, the first Lyra had ever seen. His features were sharp, his skin a pale shade unlike the vibrant tones of her people, and his hair was a tangled mass of dark curls. "He's so different," Lyra whispered to herself, her mind racing with the implications of this discovery. Males were creatures of myth and legend in alien lore, often depicted as mythical counterparts to their all-female reality. With no small amount of trepidation, she approached the stranger. Checking for signs of life, she was relieved to find a weak pulse under her fingers. Lyra knew she couldn't leave him there. Her people were compassionate, and their medical technology was advanced. Decision made, she began the arduous task of dragging him out of the wreckage. By the time she got back to the city with the unconscious stranger, dawn was coloring the skies with hues of pink and gold. The arrival of Lyra and the alien male caused a stir unlike any other in recent memory. The news spread like wildfire, reaching the highest tiers of alien society. The Council of Elders, a body of the most esteemed scientists and leaders, convened an emergency meeting to discuss the implications of the male's arrival. Speculations were rife. Was he a spy, a harbinger of invasion, or simply a traveler lost among the stars? As the male slowly recovered under the careful watch of alien medics, Lyra became a frequent visitor to his side, driven by a mix of duty and curiosity. She watched as he opened his eyes for the first time, his gaze filled with confusion and awe. His first word, spoken in a raspy whisper, was, "Where?" Lyra smiled, a mix of reassurance and wonder on her face. "Viridia," she answered. "You're safe here." As the male, introduced as Kale, adapted to his new surroundings, he shared stories of the galaxy beyond, of planets interconnected by trade and treaties, and of his own world, where men and women lived in equality. His tales were met with skepticism and awe, challenging the very foundation of what the aliens believed about the universe and themselves. This unexpected encounter was just the beginning. Little did Lyra or her people know, Kale's arrival was the first thread in a tapestry of change that would unravel their understanding of the world and their place within the cosmos. Kale's presence in Viridia brought a wave of intellectual curiosity and emotional turmoil among the aliens. In the weeks following his recovery, he became a subject of study and fascination. The elders, primarily composed of esteemed researchers and scholars, were split in their approach. Some viewed him as a crucial key to unlocking unknown aspects of the universe, while others regarded him with suspicion, fearing the potential disruption to their society's meticulously maintained balance. Lyra, tasked with facilitating Kale's integration and learning, found herself at the center of this storm. As they spent time together, she taught him the nuances of alien language and culture, while he shared insights into technologies and political structures alien to her people. This exchange wasn't just educational. It was a window into possibilities that Lyra had never dared to imagine. Meanwhile, the common citizens of Viridia were not immune to the intrigue that Kale stirred. His different appearance and mannerisms became the talk of the city, with some aliens drawn to his novel features and others recoiling from the same. Children, uninhibited by the complexities of adult prejudices, often approached him with blunt curiosity, asking questions that made both Kale and the adults around him uncomfortable. As Kale adapted to life on Viridia, he also began to assist alien scientists with their research, applying his unique perspective and knowledge to their ongoing projects. This collaboration proved fruitful, leading to advancements in energy efficiency and space travel technology that would have taken the aliens years to achieve on their own. However, these contributions only deepened the divide among the elders, as debates raged about the ethics of using alien knowledge. The situation reached a critical point when a breakthrough in communication technology, inspired by Kale's descriptions of interstellar networks, allowed the aliens to detect distant transmissions. This revelation that they were not alone in the universe, far from it, shook the very foundation of their isolated existence. Amidst this backdrop of scientific upheaval, Lyra found herself increasingly drawn to Kale's worldview, his resilience, and his starkly different perspectives. Her interactions with him challenged her beliefs and her understanding of her role in society. The emotional landscape of Viridia was changing, stirred by the presence of this one man who represented a galaxy of unknowns. In response to the burgeoning shifts in public opinion and cultural norms, the Council of Elders decided to host a public forum, the first of its kind in generations. The forum was meant to be a platform for open dialogue between Kale and the aliens, to address concerns, curiosities, and fears about what his presence meant for the future of Viridia. On the day of the forum, the great hall of the council was filled to the brim with citizens from all walks of life. Kale, standing at the center of the assembly, faced a barrage of questions. Some asked about the technologies and cultures of other worlds. Others questioned his intentions and the security risks he might pose. Kale answered each query with a calmness that earned him a measure of respect even from his detractors. He spoke of his home planet, Terra, describing it as a world struggling with its own issues of governance, environmental challenges, and aspirations for peace, much like Viridia, yet vibrantly diverse in its social fabric. As the forum drew to a close, it was clear that Kale had begun to alter the perceptions of many aliens. Fear had turned into fascination, and hostility into thoughtful consideration. However, the elders remained cautious, promising the community that decisions regarding Kale's long-term presence on Viridia would be taken with the utmost care for their historical values and future prospects. Lyra, watching the shifts in her society with a mixture of hope and apprehension, realized that Kale's crash landing on Viridia was not just a mere accident. It was a catalyst for evolution, pushing her people to reconsider their place in the broader universe. As she walked him back to his quarters after the forum, the stars above seemed to her not just points of light, but potential destinations, each holding their own stories waiting to be discovered. As the seasons on Viridia shifted, so too did the relationship between Kale and the alien people. The initial wave of curiosity began to settle into a rhythm of mutual respect and learning. Kale, ever the inquisitive outsider, took to Viridia's expansive libraries, immersing himself in the history and sciences of his adopted world. Meanwhile, Lyra, his constant companion and guide, found herself delving deeper into the lore of the cosmos, driven by the stories Kale shared. The breakthrough in communication technology that Kale had inspired opened new channels of research. Alien scientists, once limited to theoretical models of the universe, now tested the limits of practical application, constructing devices capable of sending messages into the deep void of space. Lyra, with her acute understanding of both alien and Terra technology, stood at the forefront of these endeavors. This new venture was not without its challenges. The first transmissions failed to elicit any response, casting a shadow of doubt on the project. But Lyra persisted, fueled by a vision of interstellar connectivity that Kale had painted in their countless discussions. Her efforts finally bore fruit when a faint, garbled message was received, originating from a distant star system. The excitement was palpable. Viridia was truly not alone. Amidst these scientific endeavors, Kale's cultural impact on Viridia continued to deepen. His descriptions of Terra's art, music, and festivals inspired a new wave of cultural expression among the aliens. Artists began experimenting with new forms and themes. Musicians incorporated alien rhythms and scales into their compositions, and the city's architects started to imagine buildings that broke free from traditional forms, reflecting the new, diverse inspirations. However, this period of enlightenment was also one of growing discomfort for some segments of the population. The elders, observing the rapid transformations within their society, convened in secret to discuss the long-term implications of these changes. There was fear that the very identity of their people, their traditions, and their social structures were at risk. The debates were heated, with no clear consensus on how to proceed. As the social fabric of Viridia stretched and morphed, so too did the bond between Kale and Lyra. What had started as a mission of necessity had blossomed into a deep and complex relationship. They were collaborators in the lab, companions in the library, and confidants under the stars. Yet Lyra could not shake the feeling that with every new discovery, the distance between her world and Kale's grew smaller, and the questions about their future loomed larger. This tension came to a head during the Festival of Lights, an ancient celebration of the twin moons' alignment. As the city glowed under streams of luminous banners and the air filled with the scent of sweet-spiced wine, Kale presented a gift to Lyra, a small device capable of capturing and replaying visual memories. He showed her a sequence of images from Terra, oceans, mountains, cities bustling with diverse peoples, and skies filled with craft. Each image was a window into his world, and with each, Lyra felt a stirring of wanderlust. But the festival was also a time of revelation for the community. During the Grand Assembly, the elders announced their decision regarding Kale's future. They had voted to allow him to stay on Viridia indefinitely, but with strict regulations on his involvement in certain advanced projects. The decision was met with mixed reactions, jubilation from some, dismay from others who viewed it as a betrayal of alien sovereignty. As the festival wound down, Lyra and Kyle stood together, their eyes fixed on the horizon where the first light of dawn mingled with the fading starlight. They understood that the path ahead would be fraught with more challenges than either could anticipate. But under the twin moons, amidst the echoes of celebration, they also recognized the rare opportunity they had to forge a path not just for themselves, but for their worlds. As the twin moons of Viridia set beyond the horizon, casting their last silvery glow on the city, the mood within the Council of Elders shifted. The decision to integrate Kale more deeply into alien society, albeit with restrictions, was not reached lightly. It was a reflection of the broader undercurrents of change that swept through their world, challenging the traditions that had guided them for centuries. In the laboratories and meeting rooms where Lyra and Kale spent their days, the air was thick with anticipation and the subtle buzz of electronic equipment. They were embarking on their most ambitious project yet, a satellite designed to be launched into Viridian orbit, equipped with advanced communication technology that could reach further into the cosmos than ever before. This project was not just a scientific endeavor. It symbolized a new era of openness and curiosity for the aliens. However, not all were pleased with the direction their society was taking. A faction within the Elders, led by the venerable Celera, voiced their concerns more vocally. They argued that the aliens were forsaking their heritage and exposing themselves to unknown dangers. Their dissent was not just ideological, but practical, fearing that rapid changes could destabilize their carefully maintained social order. These tensions played out against the backdrop of the city, where citizens grappled with the influx of new ideas and the presence of an outsider who had become a catalyst for transformation. Cultural festivals now featured displays of Terra's history, alongside traditional alien performances, creating a blend of the old and the new that fascinated some and discomfited others. Lyra, caught between her roles as a scientist and a symbol of change, felt the weight of her decisions. Each step forward with the satellite project brought her closer to Kale, yet it also seemed to isolate her from those who remained skeptical of the rapid innovations. She found solace in her work, focusing on the technical challenges and the potential benefits of successful communication with other civilizations. The launch day of the satellite approached, marked by a city-wide celebration that mirrored the Festival of Lights in its scale but not in its unity. The event was as much a political statement as a scientific milestone, attended by all, from eager children to wary elders. The launch, conducted at the peak of the tallest structure in the city, was a spectacle of light and sound that captured everyone's imagination. As the satellite pierced the sky, cutting through the thin clouds and into the open expanse of space, cheers erupted from the crowd. But the success of the launch was just the beginning. The true test would come when, and if, they received a response from the unknown reaches of the galaxy. The weeks following the launch were tense. The team monitored the communication arrays day and night, waiting for a signal that would prove their efforts were not in vain. During this time, Kale and Lyra grew even closer, their shared hopes for contact bonding them in ways that transcended their professional collaboration. Then, one night, as Viridia's twin moons were obscured by a rare alignment with their sun, creating a haunting eclipse, the communication console sprang to life. A signal, weak and irregular, was captured by their systems, a message from the stars. The content was garbled, but the implication was clear. Viridia had reached out into the cosmos, and someone, or something, had answered. The revelation of the incoming message spread through Viridia like wildfire, reigniting debates and fears about the wisdom of their path. While some saw it as a vindication of their new outward gaze, others perceived it as a harbinger of upheaval. The elders convened an emergency session, with Kale and Lyra called to present their findings and discuss the implications of this cosmic dialogue. As they prepared to address the council, Kale looked to Lyra with a steady gaze, his expression one of determination mixed with concern. They stood together not just as representatives of two worlds, but as pioneers on the precipice of a new chapter in alien history, ready to argue for a future where Viridia was a participant in the vast network of galactic civilizations, not merely an observer from the shadows. The chamber where the Council of Elders convened was a sphere of translucent walls, designed to mimic the openness of space. As Kale and Lyra entered, the room felt charged with a palpable tension, the weight of history and the pull of the future colliding. Lyra presented the transmission data with clarity and precision. The signal, though fragmented, carried patterns that were unmistakably artificial, suggesting not just random noise, but a deliberate message. She explained the technical aspects, from the frequency adjustments made to accommodate the vast distances to the algorithms developed to decode the faint whispers from the cosmos. Kale took over to discuss the broader implications. He spoke of his home, Terra, where diverse species and cultures had learned to communicate and collaborate, creating a tapestry of shared knowledge and mutual benefits. His voice carried a quiet strength as he painted a picture of potential interstellar partnerships, emphasizing the opportunities for trade, cultural exchange, and technological advancements. The elders listened, their expressions a mixture of awe and anxiety. Celira, leading the faction wary of change, questioned the wisdom of exposing their world so openly. She argued that Viridia's strength had always lain in its seclusion, in the purity of its culture, and the control over its own destiny. To her, the risks of interference, contamination, or even invasion outweighed the prospective rewards. Lyra responded not with counter-arguments, but with a vision. She proposed a controlled approach, establishing a dedicated agency to handle extraterrestrial communications, staffed with experts in various fields, from linguistics and xenology to security and diplomacy. This agency would not only manage incoming transmissions, but also formulate responses, ensuring that Viridia's interests were safeguarded while exploring new frontiers. The debate stretched into hours, with each elder casting their vision for the future of Viridia. Younger members of the council, inspired by the promise of what lay beyond their star, voiced their support for Lyra and Kale's proposal. They argued that Viridia had reached a point of technological and social maturity that could allow it to step onto the galactic stage without losing its identity. As the suns began to set, casting long shadows over the city below, a consensus emerged. The council voted to establish the Viridian Agency for Intergalactic Communication, VAIC, with Lyra appointed as its first director. Kale, given his unique experience and perspective, was offered the role of chief consultant, though his involvement would be heavily supervised by the elders to assuage concerns of undue influence. With the council's decision made, the city buzzed with the news. Preparations began at a feverish pace, from building the new agency's headquarters to training its first cohort of specialists. Lyra and Kale worked tirelessly, their days filled with meetings and planning sessions, their nights spent poring over data and reports. The first official act of VAIC was to send a response to the mysterious signal. The message crafted was a blend of caution and curiosity, designed to establish basic communication protocols and express a peaceful intent. It was transmitted into the void with hopes high and expectations tempered. Weeks turned into months as Viridia awaited another reply. The society gradually adapted to its new role, with public opinion warming to the idea of being part of a larger universe. Educational programs expanded to include astrobiology and xenolinguistics, while public forums and debates became commonplace, discussing the implications of what contact with other civilizations might bring. One quiet evening, as Lyra and Kale observed the stars from the rooftop of the newly constructed VAIC building, the transmission console beeped softly. A new message had arrived, clearer and more structured than the last. The voice from the void was speaking, and this time Viridia was ready to listen. Together, they approached the console, their hearts racing with the possibility of what message the stars might hold. In the control room of the Viridian Agency for Intergalactic Communication, a hushed silence fell as Lyra initiated the playback of the incoming message. The assembled team of experts, alongside Kale, watched intently as the screen flickered to life, translating the alien signals into audible speech and visual data. The message was from a coalition of civilizations known as the Galactic Concord, a collective that spanned numerous star systems and included a diverse array of species. The voice, modulated to be comprehensible to human-like sensory organs, spoke of peace and a mutual desire to explore and share knowledge. The visuals accompanying the message displayed vibrant images of different planets, species, and cities, a tapestry of life forms united under the Concord. Lyra felt a wave of relief and excitement wash over her. The message was not just a response, it was an invitation, an offer to join an interstellar community bound by shared goals and governed by principles of mutual respect and cooperation. Kale squeezed her hand, sharing in the moment of triumph and possibility. In the days that followed, Lyra led the efforts to formulate a reply. She consulted with Kale, the elders, and her team at VAIC, crafting a message that conveyed Viridia's values, its history of peaceful existence, and its readiness to engage with the Galactic Concord. When the response was sent, it carried with it the hopes and dreams of every alien. The invitation from the Galactic Concord prompted a series of rapid developments. Diplomatic missions were planned, and ambassadors from various Concord species visited Viridia, each meeting marked by ceremonies that celebrated this new era of cosmic fraternity. The aliens, in turn, prepared their own envoys to visit Concord planets, including Kale, who was appointed as one of the first diplomatic representatives, given his invaluable experience and perspective. Amidst this whirlwind of interstellar diplomacy, Viridia transformed. The cityscape began to reflect the influence of alien architectures and technologies. Public spaces were redesigned to accommodate interspecies interactions, and the curricula of educational institutions expanded to include alien studies and galactic history. However, the heart of Viridia, its people, underwent the most profound change. The aliens embraced their new role with a mixture of pride and humility, eager to learn and share, to teach and to understand. The cultural festivals that once celebrated only alien heritage now included representations from across the galaxy, turning the city into a vibrant hub of intercultural exchange. Lyra, as director of VAIC, found herself at the center of this transformation. Her leadership guided Viridia through its initial steps into the galactic community, balancing the excitement of exploration with the wisdom of caution. Her relationship with Kale, too, evolved, becoming both a personal partnership and a professional alliance that symbolized the bridge between worlds. As Viridia settled into its place within the Galactic Concord, the echoes of its isolated past faded into the background, replaced by the symphony of a shared future. The challenges were many, and the road ahead was uncertain. But for Lyra, Kale, and the aliens, the promise of what lay ahead was a compelling call to venture forth. Under the light of their twin moons, now symbols of their dual heritage as children of Viridia and citizens of the galaxy, the aliens looked up at the stars not as distant, cold points of light, but as destinations, as homes, as kindred spirits. The universe, once a vast void of unknowns, had become a place of infinite possibilities, a vast network of connections waiting to be explored. As they charted their course among the stars, the aliens held fast to one unyielding belief. In the galaxy's sprawling expanse, they would not lose themselves but discover what it truly meant to be a part of the cosmos.